Hey everyone, my name is Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. Today's video is a bit of a silly replay where I get a nice card, a nice couple of cards even, and I just run with it. My opponent is none other than Fung Fung, who is also known as Red Hair in the English-speaking community. And, well, looking at the packs, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to play, but I end up with a Sledgehammer Crawler opener here. With the Missile Specialist. I do think Missile Specialist is very, very powerful. There's a lot of things it's extremely good into, and there's a lot of pretty popular units that, you know, it just kind of annoys. Things like Phoenixes, Mustang, Hound, they all, you know, get taken down instantly by the Missile Specialist, and you can often get a lot of tempo based on that, not to mention the types of flanks that it often enables by, you know, missiling perhaps a Fang that is defending it. I am going to go for a right side defense here with the crawlers behind the tower, and it seems like my opponent is, you know, playing aggressive on that side too. Left side has a magnetic barricade in the building, so it is a little bit less popular to push into. And yeah, we have a Typhoon Specialist on my opponent's end, and here I wasn't too sure what I wanted to go for on round one, and I think to myself, ooh, maybe I want to try and play a more Titan-oriented setup. So that's why I moved the crawler ever so slightly, because I will likely want to park a hound in front of it. And I'm going to go for double marksman, because if I'm going to end up with something like a factory, it is nice to have at least some anti-air to be able to, well, take down potential enemy air units. Yeah. I was thinking about Hound because I still need to fix my chaff clear in this particular game. The sledges by themselves won't be enough. And, well, Hound Fire is a pretty easy way to at least have some chaff clear early on. I also don't think that Factory is particularly bad in all of these mid-sized units, so it felt like a pretty decent thing to try and aim for. Mountain would also be another option. Doesn't have to be Factory per se, but that was the preliminary game plan entering into this game. I'm going to lose round one, but I think that makes sense. My chaff clear just isn't great, and the damage on my marksman is not enough to get rid of all of these tanky units. However, on round two, we get offered a card that is kind of the reason I run assault mode on my marksman. It is extended range marksman. Now, this gives the marksman 30% bonus range, and you do give up a little bit of stats, 20% HP, 20% attack, but that doesn't matter too much when you click something like Assault Mode, which gives you a heap of stats, right, in return. And the bonus 30 range on this tech is truly a big, big deal. You suddenly aren't as vulnerable anymore to things like Hacker, which are usually the main counter. And so, yeah, I immediately go for it. I buy 2 more marksmen. I kind of expected this left side attack because I know that Fung Fung loves these type of aggressive pushes. I did not expect it to be, you know, this well kind of, well, defended with a crawler in front of the Phoenix and an Arclight behind it. But we do a decent enough job. The right side wins convincingly, and the left side is a level tower. I just hope that the debuffs here kind of go okay for me, because I could see a world where the Phoenix somehow ends up killing everything. And it kind of seems to be going that way. As my crawler splits off, that's not going to do anything. And my marksmen are chasing after crawlers. So they get locked onto by the enemy Phoenix, get stuck on the Arclight, and I don't manage to take it down. Even worse, the Phoenix ends up killing the second tower, and so it grabs a level here. And that's a pretty big deal, because now it suddenly has the damage to take down, well, my marksman more easily, but also to one-shot my sledgehammers. So, safe to say, I wasn't too happy about that result, but oh well. You know, that happens sometimes. I at least do have my extended range marksman card, and from here on out, I probably just get to spam a ton of marksmen. You don't really need to do much else. Opponent decides to go from the Farseer, from the Unidrop. I really like the double Wasp, just good to defend the flanks with, and, well, my opponent didn't have a great way of dealing with it right now. I do have the Missile Strike as well, which I'm going to use on the left. I'm kind of just banking on the fact that maybe my opponent doesn't take the first defense enhancement, which would allow me to one-shot the level 2 Phoenix. And either way, I get to take down the Crawler, and hopefully, you know, even if the Phoenix lives, the Marksman and the Wasp will be able to finish the job. I decided to buy even more marksmen, as I mentioned. And, I mean, that's pretty much the round. I go for a Fang in front of the tower, just to make sure that this doesn't insta-lock. It should be fine, because it is a level tower, but still, I kind of like putting that there. I'm going to go for an aggressive missile on the right side as well, which should allow me to at least slow down a bunch of these units. On second thought, I don't think this is the smartest, because if my opponent does grab Defense Enhancement 1, suddenly the Arclight no longer gets one shot, the Steel Balls no longer get one shot, the Phoenix also doesn't die to the missile. So I don't think that was correct, but you know, it's not the worst, and it will just allow me to win the right side a bit more convincingly. The right side truly is doing very well. A couple of late crawlers here are still alive, but my marksman did a good job of at least getting rid of the main DPS threat, which was that leveled Phoenix. And so this round should be ours to take. And now I'm getting to the point where I can afford range on my marksman, which would be the thing that I'm aiming for. I don't really need to worry too much about chaff clear in this instance. My opponent hasn't been buying a ton. For now, the marksmen are doing good enough of a job, so pretty happy with that. On round number 4, we do get redeploy, but I'm mostly deploying symmetrically, so it doesn't seem like a great thing for me. I'm not too interested in the mobilized battleship, and enhancement module here doesn't make too much sense with all of my cheap units. So I'm only looking at advanced shield device, and I say to myself, well, it's a really good card to have late game, especially when some of the red spells, you know, show up. You're quite happy when your shields have 40% more hit points to be able to, well, defend all of your important units. So I kind of pick it preemptively. I don't do anything with it right now, but I'll have it in my back pocket just in case. I do go for the range enhancement, as I said, on the marksman, and I just add a bit more chaff in this instance. At least one more crawler here in the back left. And I'm going to start building a hound, because I'm saying to myself, there's a high chance that my opponent starts building a lot of chaff now. And I kind of want to make sure that next round, potentially, I can go for triple hound with the incendiary bomb. Opponent goes for Mustangs all the way in the back to be able to deal with my wasps. They do run missile interception, which I thought, ooh, maybe that could be a problem. But at the same time, the Mustangs are too far back to be able to intercept the missiles. They would have to add more, and they might be looking to grab something else like range enhancement or, you know, culling rounds, because the big reason they went for this is that they decided to go for charge shot on the Arclights. And this is not a tech that you see very often. Most people don't run this. They either run... I mean, what do people run? I'm not exactly sure. I guess AA or armor are both pretty common. And I think I'm missing something else. But those are, you know, a lot more prevalent. Oh, EMP, of course, is the one that I'm forgetting. Those are a lot more common than charge shot. But here it doesn't seem to be doing too poorly. And my marksmen are again kind of getting distracted. We've seen this before with the Phoenix, but here it's going to get stuck on a couple of Mustangs and allow the Arclights to start leveling and take a round. A little bit scary. But round number 5, additional deployment slot shows up, and this is kind of the dream. I mean, I guess for both of us, because it seems like my opponent wants to spam Arclights, but, you know, I also get to spam a whole bunch of small units in this instance. And as I said, I am going to go for Firehound. I feel like chaff clear is the biggest problem for the time being, and I want to give my opponent, you know, some reason to try and, well, build something other than Arclights. They will now have to deal with the fire. If they want to deal with the fire, they have to build, you know, sprinkler hounds or more Mustangs, and it'll kind of take away from their Arclights building. And they are building a lot of them. 3 more here, I think, showing up, or perhaps even 4. And this is starting to look kind of scary, but hopefully I'll be able to do well enough with the Firehounds and allow my marksmen to find the correct targets, because they are probably capable of defeating the Arclights. They were just mostly stuck on chaff last round. And you can see that they are deleting those steel balls very, very rapidly. Thankfully, this marksman in the middle locks onto the big Arclight, level 3. That caused me a lot of trouble last round. I did lock onto it back then too, but the marksman just wasn't level 2, and so it didn't have the damage to take it out quickly. This time around, though, it's a different story. It will be able to take down the big Arclight, and the right side seems to be doing kind of fine as well. Opponent runs out of anti-air, so the Wasps end up finishing the job on that side of the field, and I do manage to get a round win. That means we now have round number 6. And on round number 6, another additional deployment slot shows up, which my opponent instantly picks. And I think to myself, well, I mean, there's only really one thing you can do in this type of scenario, right? You already got your extended range marksman. You're already enjoying a nice game of assault mode marksman. You get double additional deployment slot. The only correct thing here, of course, is to just buy 5 more level 2 assault mode marksman, which is exactly what I end up doing. I'm going to try and spread them about evenly across, well, my board, and I say to myself, there is no way that this could possibly go wrong. I have so many marksmen now that, you know, their overlapping splash should be able to deal with charge shot Arclight, right? Like, there is a reason that this has not been that popular for a while. It did get nerfed pretty heavily, although this is a long time ago, but it is nowhere near the old Arclight charge shots that it once was. I go for the missile in the back on the Mustang. This seems like a pretty free target, and my opponent goes for Elite Arclight just to get a little bit of bonus range, because the bonuses in this game are additive, so the bonus damage that you gain is not really that big a deal, but the range can certainly help against something like, you know, Assault Mode Marksman, which doesn't have the highest of range. But as you can see, it is doing rather well. Opponent went for, I believe, quadruple or even 5 quintuple fangs. And I think what they're trying to do here is set up kind of some late chaff to try and make sure that my marksman gets stuck on the fangs after the fire from the hounds has dissipated. Which is not a bad idea, but we'll just have to see if that actually works out or not. Round number 7, vortexes get offered, and these drops are nasty, by the way. These high-level vortex drops are very, very scary, especially because they have such cheap tank techs. It's very easy to just pick them, grab emergency armor or field maintenance, and then sometimes watch your opponent struggle to take these down. It's really not a joke. Especially when they're on the flanks, dealing with an emergency armor vortex is a massive pain. Now, of course, on this round 2, all I'm going to do is press Elite Recruit, press Mass Recruit, and buy myself 5 more marksmen, which means that I believe we now have 16, perhaps? I'm not quite sure. We have 4, we have 8, we have 12, and we do indeed have 16 of them. That's a pretty good amount. I decided to go for the Phantom Rays because I thought I had armor on the bar. I don't. I've been switching around my techs a whole lot on Phantom Ray as of late, so yeah, pardon the confusion. And I'm going for a little bit of a wacky play here as well, which is triple missile to make sure that I can kill this Arclight. And the reason I went for it is because the Arclights are so close that I could see that it would also splash onto that one, which I don't think is too bad of a deal this late in the game. I'll happily pay 150 to be able to take down 2 of my opponent's carries. And well, it does end up working, so I don't get punished for it. My opponent goes for more late fangs and does end up pressing shield on it, so that was the plan. The question is it enough to deal with 16 assault mode extended range marksmen? And it kind of seems to be that no, it is not. My line of marksmen just happily chews through all of my opponent's units, and that is a solid round for round number 7, with my opponent being left on 55 hit points entering round number 8. And round number 8, I kind of mentioned it before, but late game spells are a thing. So both of us go for the Ion Blast, and remember, I do have Advanced Shield Device. I hadn't used it until now, but I was pretty happy to realize that I did pick it, as that will help me protect my marksman a little bit more easily. Just going to line it up on, well, all of these Arclights here that are already, you know, nicely forming a queue. Quadruple shield on my end. I have oil as well, which I can just use on the left side now. Maybe I shouldn't go for this because my opponent likely is building barriers, but part of it will land. I have a missile available too, which is going to go onto this Mustang in the back, and this really shows you just how powerful and I guess toxic this specialist is. It's just so hard for the opponent to make sure that I don't get any value, because you would have to build no Mustangs No phoenixes, no wasps, no hounds, no things like that. You would have to shield them, try and keep the shields alive, build everything inside of it. I mean, it's really not, you know, ideal. I'm going to go for more crawlers here because I felt like I had enough marksmen, and I kind of wanted to go for loose formation on my crawlers because my opponent is running charge shot Arclights. Now, I think that the idea they had in mind was to go for Mustangs to kind of, you know, make sure that I don't go loose formation because it is still kind of the main counter, or one of the counters to that tech, but they haven't teched, and, well, I don't mind going for that. I have a lot of crawlers at this point. And even though my opponent goes for Hacker, which is usually a counter to Assault Marksman, I'm not convinced that level 1 hackers without EMP are going to do it at this stage. We'll have to see. My shields do end up breaking, and I do lose a couple of marksmen, but most of them are tanky enough or fast enough that they do end up walking outside of it. I also severely crippled my opponent on the right side of the board, and left side is doing fantastic. That fire landed a lot better than I thought it would, considering the shield block part of it, and it would seem that I do manage to win this round. Very, very nice game. It's a bit of a memey one. This doesn't happen often, but you know, it is the reason that I run assault mode. I don't click this a lot outside of this scenario, but sometimes, you know, you get blessed by an early extended range marksman, and then you get to play something like this. Now, my opponent was absolutely cooking as well. I would not recommend you do this if you end up facing assault mode marksman. With extended range, they are a little bit less susceptible to EMP hacker, although it still is kind of the main counter. The best thing to do here is usually to, one, make sure that you have plenty of chaff, because assault marksman still isn't great at clearing it, and two, go for something really big, right? Fortresses were always a great counter to it. Any source of EMP generally is. And you can, of course, try to go for Titans too if you want to. But those would be the, you know, the kind of common answers. I'm not going to try the replay here. I wouldn't even know where to start because this is a pretty crazy board from my opponent. But I thought it was a fun one to showcase because, you know, this does happen at high MMR sometimes where both players just, you know, kind of go for some crazy stuff. Anyway, if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. You know, have you played some extended range marksman? Do you run assault mode for the same reason as me? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date with latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.